Okay, we're back with the proper audio. I apologize for that. That was, here's the funny thing. That's the least embarrassing thing that happened in the Penn State ecosystem this afternoon. Penn State loses 37-42 to UCLA. I don't know where to start with this because there's a lot of bad when it comes to what happened to Penn State on the field, but obviously it starts on defense, and we'll get into some of the defensive things, good and bad, and I apologize to everybody who was here, and then we scattered and dispersed, and I had to end the show because the audio was bad. Hope you guys decided to come back. Because that was a bit of a technical issue. And unfortunately, once you get these things going, there's no way to actually fix them because the issue is in the computer. It's not actually something I can just unplug and plug back in because it was all done correctly on, I don't change any of these settings. So where do we want to start in the chat here? Brett Streer says outcoached. Yes. Yep. In this game, in this situation, UCLA came in with the advantage of nobody knew what they were, but that's not an excuse in this game because it became pretty clear what they were going to do on offense. And then the special teams blunder that allowed a 10-0 start for a team that does not score very well was also a big problem. But not being able to get off the field was the number one thing for the Penn State defense this week, and it was the number one thing for Penn State's defense last week. The difference is you had Tony Rojas out there, and those tackles that were 6 yards were actually 3 to 4 last week. And that's a very real thing in this game. And I'm not trying to make excuses or say whatever. This is the reality that Penn State's going to face the rest of the year. Penn State tried to play their normal defense this week, and they just can't. They cannot play that defense without linebackers that are athletic and big enough to cover gaps. Because when you play this defensive style, and really any defense, if you can't fill all the gaps properly, you can't play defense. And Penn State could not fill the gaps properly on defense. I don't know the number of rushing yards in this game, but it was insane, the number of rushing yards and the yards per attempt. Let's take a look at this in this game because that's obviously the determining factor. UCLA rushed 53 times for 269 yards. They didn't really throw a pass in the second half. Nico Iamaleava, I'm just going to butcher that all night long, had 128 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. He had 5 combined touchdowns in this game. That's an elite football player, and they figured out how to use him properly. So defensive game plan, I think, coming in was fine. They made the correct adjustments throughout the game, believe it or not. They just couldn't play that game. They could not play that game because there were players on the field that athletically were getting outmatched. Now, Penn State needed to have a spy in this game, and they did not have a spy in this game. 2 games in a row as well, the Penn State rush has been less than expected. So now we know Penn State losing Abdul Carter, big deal. That's a big deal on this defense. But in the first half, he almost never put the ball in the air with them to give them a chance to get to the quarterback. Because in what they were doing before this team was dropping back and trying to throw. Now, they were behind in almost every single game. And that was a big thing where they were always chasing, as evidenced by they had never led a single moment throughout the entire season. And so when you're throwing short passes, they're allowed to stay away from Penn State's strength, which is the defensive line. So there was a lot of issues on the defensive side of the ball from a schematic standpoint of they were not prepared for the quick game initially when they were throwing a lot of those short underneath passes. And Iamaleava does a really great job of being on time. He's accurate. He's got a strong arm, and the ball can just get there before the Penn State defender. So Penn State goes and says, okay, quick game, we're going to play man coverage. Well, if you play man coverage, there's 2 things that are going to happen. One, you're going to allow deep shots, which we saw in the first half. And then if you play man coverage and the quarterback gets out of the pocket, then you get gobs of running yards for a guy who's 6'6" and runs really well. So Penn State was put in a bind. They couldn't play their zone defenses because there was this quick game aspect that was getting 6 yards at a time and just eating through their coverage. And then on the other side, when they tried to play man coverage, they weren't able to keep the quarterback in the pocket. And I just couldn't believe the number of times that they had bad contain and allowed the quarterback out of the pocket. Now, Teflon Don says, big game James 4-21. Obviously, this is not a big game This is not a ranked opponent. This is an unranked opponent. So, Don, this is not the same thing. I have said I want to see something new. I want to watch something new happen. I didn't think it was going to be losing to winless UCLA. So this is not the same James Franklin. This is not the same Penn State football. They lost to an unranked team. We're in uncharted territory right now. They're now 3-2 on the season. And this is all really interesting. They're 0-2 in the conference. I'm really surprised at how poorly Penn State's defense responded in this game. Because I don't know what we want to talk about with the Penn State offense. Drew Allar was great in this game. He almost had 300 combined yards. Katron Allen, 6.3 yards per carry. I still don't get it, guys. I still don't get how it just seems like Nick gets carries. He has 11 carries in this game. And, like, when he's on the field, they give him the football, and when Katron's on the field, like, they call different plays, and they throw the ball. Like, whatever is going on in the backfield, Katron Allen has 8 carries in this game. What is going on there? So we can talk about the situational stuff as well. We can talk about the final play of the game. What? I try really hard not to talk about, coaching, right? And I try hard not to criticize people whose job I can't do. Out of respect for the position, out of respect for what I don't know. Drew Allar completed 73% of his passes in this game. It's his first time since the first game being above 60. And the final play of the game, everything's on the line, and you're running power option, which has been power optionally working this year. It's been fine, but that has happened before. That final play of the game, it's not a surprise that he was tackled in the backfield for a loss because that happened against Oregon, where they were able to stop that before. Drew Allar's success running was as a scrambler in this game. I just fundamentally don't understand that play call. I do not understand why you would, in that moment, take the ball out of your best player's hands doing the best thing that he was doing all day. A lot of other things happened in this game, and I don't really have a good answer for you in terms of those things. So let's just get to your comments and questions, and I apologize. Obviously, we had a rough start to the show here because of the technical audio difficulties. So I need to load up a couple other things, including the fact that this is the Labatt Postgame show. So we need to tell you about Labatt and our great sponsors. This fall, nothing goes better with college football than an ice-cold Labatt Blue or Labatt Blue Light. Because when you bleed blue and white, you drink blue and light. Born in Canada, brewed in the USA, it's a favorite in Northwest PA for sure. This thing grew up next to me over on the wooded side of the state. So, it's a tradition for fans who know how to celebrate each first down and every touchdown, or drown their sorrows by losing to a winless team. Please drink responsibly. I'm going to say that part after saying that. And here's the best part, though. All these things aside, when you stock up on Labatt, you can score big off the field, too. Just visit rewards.labattusa.com to get recorded with the Buy Beer, Get Gear program. So whether you're tailgating with 107,000 fans or just watching with the 856 people here on the postgame show or 409 when you have a couple people at home with your friends, crack a Labatt Blue or Labatt Blue Light and make every Saturday a win. Please drink responsibly. Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. So UCLA, I think that Oregon has created a code of how to stop the Jim Knowles defense. And what I guess I'm surprised by in this game is how much they stuck to that defensive structure of 3 safeties. And I understand the threats that are on the field from UCLA, playing 11 personnel and, spreading things out and all that stuff. What I don't understand is in the second half, they're clearly focused on running the football. How you don't have more bodies near the line of scrimmage, and how you're not trying at a certain point, throwing anything against the wall to stop the run positionally from a player perspective. Because, again, I've talked about this. I don't like just singling players out of like, this is what happened, but Dom DeLuca was not capable of playing in this game. He was not able to play the position the way they needed to. So if you're going to play a light box and try to defend the run the way they do, you need 6 players that are going to be in their gap and make a tackle no matter what. And Dom DeLuca was in his gap. Let's be clear. Dom DeLuca was in his gap. But when he's swallowed up by an offensive lineman and he can't wrap and tackle and he doesn't have the length, we talk about length all the time on the recruiting show. I'm always banging on about this guy's got 33-inch arms. This guy's got 31-inch arms. That's not big enough. This is why, if you are in the gap right here and you're fit up in alignment and you need to reach out and grab a running back as he runs by you and you need to be able to lean that way and have the frame to disengage, that was the problem here. That and missed tackles. There were so many missed tackles in this game. I mean, it started right on the first drive of the game. One of the reasons, 3rd and 1, King Mack misses a tackle in the flat, wide open, and allows that drive to continue. Then there was another missed tackle later in that drive. It was just, the defense played poorly from a technical perspective, and then the scheme of UCLA and leveraging their best player for 290 some yards combined is what happened in this game to Penn State's defense. Let's look at the third down situation, because again, third down is getting away from Penn State. The UCLA was 10 of 16 on third down. The fact that they had 16 third down attempts is wild. The fact that they went 10 of 16 is even crazier. So we got a lot of people here in the chat. Let's see. Brett says they play defense like they're playing Oregon, death by 1,000 cuts. There's a good chance that Jim Knowles' defense, with the size of Penn State's defensive line, we might be developing a problem here, because they played tough last week against Oregon, who physically outmatched them from a size perspective, and they still made it work. Without, like, you pulled out one domino in Dom DeLuca, and those 3 yards became 6 yards. Those 7 yards become 14. And they just did not have the ability to run and chase in space. And then they started panicking. In the second half, that pin and pull where they got out into the sideline and running down the field, that was a rough one, because the play worked. The structure of the play worked. They trapped Dennis Sutton inside, and then everyone starts running under blocks. The thing you've got to do on that play is, first off, be in front of it. You need to see that, and you need to get in front of it. But secondly, you need to push it back inside. And they did not do that. Everyone was trying to make the tackle because they're slow and they're late off the ball. Because how many plays did UCLA have? Let's see. So you have 24 attempts, 77 plays in this game, as according to just the run and pass sheet. 77 plays in this game. They played 80 last week. That's a crazy amount. Penn State got to 57 plays in this game. Penn State's inability to get off the field on defense is their Achilles heel at this point. Let's see. Michael's back. He says, anyone who wants to buy a bridge DN me. Unrivaled, uninspired, unfortunate. Michael says, be honest, T. Frank, if you give Franklin another 10 years, do you really expect a different product? Oh, boy. Well, this is new, as I said to start the show. This is a new thing. Michael, here's the problem. Nobody wants to have a conversation about the first 8 years being pushing a boulder uphill. But yes, now that they are within spitting distance of where they want to be from a financial standpoint and where they want to be from a talent standpoint, these are the ones where I'm like, these can't happen. This can't happen with this defense, with this offense, with this team. Last week and the first month of the season, how sloppy it's been on offense. This was the season to me. To me, this was the season with all your seniors. You came with the plan of being a senior-laden team and not getting it done in this situation. To me, this is the turning point for me, Michael. So no, but like I understand that you're saying that 12 years of this has been the same, and I'm saying the last 3 years of this has been more of where they want to be in the trajectory of where they want to go. But it doesn't matter what I think, Michael, because it matters what you think. It matters what the Penn State fan base thinks. So Pete says, what can you do except laugh? I mean, I'm not the one paying $15 million for crappy coaching. Let's see. What does Corey say? Sky-high expectations that the coach wasn't equipped to handle. Didn't have the boys prepared. I'd argue he lost the team. Buyout be damned. We gotta let him go. Also, respect the X swear, T. Frank. Okay. Thank you, Corey. Let's talk about the 2-minute drive. I didn't understand that. So the James Franklin coaching, can't coach game day thing, I think is overrated. There were some things early in his career that probably merited that. The last 2-3 years or so, I had not seen anything that felt egregious. This one, to me, I can't explain. And I understand, there's the problem, is I can't explain it. I could give you the reasoning. But here's the situation. And I know you know the situation, but I just have to walk through it logically. I have to walk through this so that I can say to you what I think was going on and how that didn't make sense to me. So, 2-minute warning. The Penn State defense has been on its heels the whole game. They are frazzled. Their nervous system is at 1,000. They are not playing within themselves. So he does not want to give the ball back to UCLA. UCLA has 3 timeouts. He has 3 timeouts. So, 3-minute warning or 3-minute drive. They get the ball. They get bailed out by a PI. 2-minute warning. 1st and 10. So, then you run the ball because he wants to milk the clock and not give the ball back, as he said at halftime. And then they huddle. And that's the part you lost me. You're not guaranteed to get the first down. You're not guaranteed to get points in this situation because they weren't even necessarily in field goal range. They were not, I would say, close enough. And to not go for a touchdown in this situation is really bad. Because even if you get the ball back and you get 10 points, and now, what was it? It would be 24-17. Like, okay, you're back within a touchdown. But if you get a touchdown and then a touchdown, you're back within 3 points. And it's a very different football game. So what happens is, they think they're going to bleed the clock. And they're going to make them call timeouts because UCLA wants the ball back. UCLA doesn't call timeouts. They're prepared for that. So then Penn State gets into 3rd and 2 or 3rd and whatever it was, 3rd and 6, whatever situation was, because they gave Nick Singleton the football in an outside zone and he got tackled. Surprise. You then have to scramble with the time and the possession because you ran the ball twice when the only thing that had been working all day was passing the football. That's backwards. That's backwards. It's backwards. It's backwards. Anytime I've ever seen that done, you get the first down, you get the yardage, you put yourself when you have the field goal, and then you try and bleed the clock and play for both, right? You play for both at that point. But bleeding the clock first puts you also in a stress management position. I didn't understand bleeding the clock to start. I understand, like, if you incompletion, whatever, but like that shows then a lack of trust in the quarterback and the passing game and all those things. And so, like, that part bothered me about doing it on the front end. And then you go for it on 4th down and don't get it. So you've given them the ball at midfield with 2 timeouts and put yourself in the situation you didn't want to be in. Which leads then to a field goal that they get, and now it's 27-7. And the snowball keeps rolling. That was frustrating for me from a process standpoint, because like you're limiting the opportunity there for your offense to do stuff. And I understand, I totally get the defensive side and looking at the bigger picture. I respect, like, you got to play more than just the play in front of you. But to me, like, you got to get the yards first. The most important thing here are the yards and the points, given the situation. And that was one where I just, like, I'm not going to try and defend, like, the logic on the other side there. it's one thing to lose to top 5 teams, another to make the program a laughing stock of college football, says Brett. Yeah, again, like, I try not to be up here with thousands of people watching this show and be outright disrespectful to these people who are already feeling that and already feeling like millions of people are watching on TV, right? It feels like second-half cringe. Like, I'm getting secondhand cringe sitting there watching this game, knowing I'm going to have to talk about it later. And it's just like the offense. I guess the bonus here, guys, is the offense played well. So that trend is over. They were able to get 37 points in this game. They were able to throw the football. And I'm sorry, I forgot to do this. So we've got to do this now. And we'll get to the offense in just a second. The defensive player of the game is brought to you by State College criminal defense attorney Matt McClanahan. Matt is a Penn State alum and Penn State superfan, and he watches the show. He gives me his predictions. He thought Penn State would win. We all thought Penn State would win. 100% of people thought Penn State would win. He's been to 128 consecutive home games now. And by the way, he's very accessible. You can reach him nights and weekends. Again, he's texting me on a Saturday. He's a guy that he's a friendly, chatty guy. And he's been a criminal defense attorney for 24 years, and you don't want to talk to him because he's a Penn State fan. You don't want to talk to him because he's a nice guy. You want to know a name if you're in a situation where you need a criminal defense attorney, somebody who's competent, and he is incredibly competent. Most of you are never going to need his services, but if you do, you should call Matt McClanahan, fellow Penn State community member. For more information, mattmlaw.com. There is no defensive player of the game. There's no defensive player of the game. Like, we're not giving out participation trophies here. Amari Campbell almost in a situation, 2.5 tackles for loss and a sack. He played hard. I also think I gotta couch this because we just spent 20 minutes saying like Penn State's defense was not prepared. Like, they were not in a good spot to win this game. They were not executing anything that was going to stop UCLA because they didn't. They forced two drives without a score. One of them was a missed field goal, and a turnover on downs. Whew. Here's the thing. I'm going to bring in Nate. I'm going to bring in Nate to help me out here. Nate, the chat is frothy. Welcome. Yeah, no. You said like I'll join you, and then you were 30 minutes late. After our technical, you missed our technical difficulties, so that's a good thing. I started a show, Nate. Where the audio sounded like I was talking through a fan. Apparently, it sounded normal to me, but I couldn't hear the and so I had to start a completely new show. And now you are to tell me what you think of Penn State's loss to UCLA, 3-2. The person on this staff that said, "Hey, UCLA trap game." He's here on the show. So, what did you think, Nate? Yeah. I've given my X's and O's description of what happened in this game for the defense. What did you think from your perspective?
Well, did part of it include Tony Rojas? Was that part of the conversation?
Yes, it was. Yep, not having your athletic linebacker in a defense that wants to play 6 players in the box.
Look, so here's the thing, and it's just like. It happens all the time, and I get it, and in no way am I even rejecting it. But we get so lulled into believing the stats are what things will always be, even though Nico was a pretty good quarterback who had pretty good games in his career before he got to UCLA. I am not saying that he did that this season at UCLA. He didn't. But I just think there's a little bit of denial happening to not acknowledge that Penn State defensively was hapless without Tony Rojas, and Nico played his butt off. Like he had a really good game. You know, like, and you name it. I mean, there is such a litany of issues that happen, like that Penn State caused, right? The special teams there, right? Like just from the get-go, the extra possession, right? So before Penn State was even awake, they were losing 10-0.
Yep.
Right. That's a problem. You can't spot teams. And I understand. I mean, I think that myself included, there's always this feeling that, oh, well, right. Like, oh, they'll snap out of it. They'll come to.
Yeah.
This is a Penn State team that has not been good offensively this season. And I think I texted you this at some point nearing the middle 8 in the first half. Like Penn State was running out of possessions.
Yeah.
Penn State was running out of possessions. So Penn State needed to score basically every time it had the ball and get stops that it was not getting at all, right? Every time UCLA touched the ball in the first half, they got points out of every single. They had 5 possessions and they got 27 points. So yeah, I mean, look, this is going to be very challenging for James Franklin to deal with, for the Penn State team to deal, right? Like the question after last week was, how do you shake off last week? They didn't. No, they didn't. Very, very clearly, plainly.
So,
how do you shake off this? I don't know, but not where they want to be for sure.
What were your thoughts on credit says 37 points and somehow my takeaway still to leave Andy Kotelnicki on the tarmac. What was your thought of the offense here? We haven't really talked about the offense because of the defense and what happened there of giving up points on nearly every single drive of the game is just like doesn't matter if the offense is humming. Doesn't matter if you don't give up an onside kick. Like the other team scoring every single time they have the ball, and then having 17 and 10 play drives in the first half. Penn State only had the ball 3 times in the first half.
Yeah.
3 times. Like, how are you supposed to play football if you don't have the football?
UCLA stole a possession there, right? Like that was part of it. Penn State didn't touch the ball offensively until 7 minutes were gone in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I think that if anybody had proposed Penn State having 37 points in this game, given the dynamic that existed previously, most people would have anticipated a Penn State win, right?
Yeah.
I think, and you know, this, trust me, this is not, I told you so because I was wrong on the pick, right? I picked 27-6. I thought it would be ugly, but Penn State would still win the game. I didn't think that UCLA would have nearly the offensive success it had, but I did think and wrote in my piece on Friday, like Penn State needed to quickly come to grips with the notion that its dynamic was going to change, right? Like the team that they thought they were, where you could rely on the defense and and the offense was, well, I mean, James Franklin said it this week, winning ugly, right? Like this notion of, hey, they're gonna grind it out and try to get better behind the scenes, and that would be fine. Well, that Rojas upended that to where now the defense is more of a liability than it's been, and the offense still is not as far along as it needs to be, to sustain success. I mean, it's a whole effort, right? Like that's the thing. There's no piece of this that goes untouched.
The problem and the frustration I have is that the offense, when they were on the field, was actually kind of good this week. I broke down my problem with that 2-minute drive to end the first half, but you go 3 and out, they go 3 and out. Like that particular play, Kyron Hudson, it hits him in the chest. Is Drew Allar late? Sure, but he drills the receiver in the chest with the ball. When you're a receiver and you know there's going to be traffic, you're supposed to reach out to catch the football, and it hits him in the chest. So you go 3 and out there. And then you still move the ball on the next drive. Their opening drive, good. After the half, before Luke Reynolds fumbled, they were getting yards in this game. I thought first off, UCLA's coverage defense is bad. Like, that's clear. And they were able to throw the ball at will in this game. And I thought that was an improvement. And they were not only able to throw the football, but they effectively did it and went to it repeatedly. So quick game, got Allar in rhythm, and none of it mattered. None of those things mattered in this game, despite the fact they scored 37 points, which I'm still reeling with that particular idea, Nate.
I'm sorry, my family just got home. Prompt me with anything else. Anything. I'm happy to talk about it.
When we're talking about the Penn State offense and the run game, there is still something wrong with the Penn State run game. Again, the most effective runner in this game was Drew Allar. 11 carries, 78 yards, and I hate the fact that I don't have the number of yards scrambling versus the number of yards running. But what's wrong here with the Penn State run game from what you can see?
I don't think that the offensive line is very good. I think they're struggling. I do. I mean, look, and I get it. Nick Singleton, and people are going to have problems with that, and that's fine. I think it's warranted. It's justified. Katron makes more people miss, which
he has 8 carries in this game.
Which is what right. And so what this offensive line has demonstrated is that it needs a running back that can make people miss, because it's not going to pave the way to gold. It's just not. Singleton's getting hit in the backfield. Drew's getting hit in the backfield. Like you name it. I mean, Katron's getting hit in the backfield. It is not operating. And certainly they obviously tried to do some different stuff with Shanahan this week and Rucci. But I think that further review of the film is going to demonstrate quite a few missed blocks and just overall execution errors. Like 4th and 2. I don't know if we're going to talk about it or not, but
yeah, I gave my thoughts on that.
Was that Reynolds block?
Wait, which fourth and 2? Because they missed 2 of them.
No, the second one, the one where the game was on the line.
I didn't see, because I was trying to get the show going, so I didn't exactly see like who and what and where. But that was getting hit in the backfield on a 4th and 2. I guess, Nate, this is again my problem, and I said this earlier. I want to get your thoughts on that. If your best player was Drew Allar throwing the football, 4th and 2, and you decide to run the ball when you have had incremental success, and Katron Allen wasn't on the field in that situation. I guess, like, would you have thrown the ball? I know you're not the offensive coordinator to ask. I'm saying I would have thrown the ball there. Why is it even a run? Why is it in the first place? Why is it a run on 4th and 2?
Well, for what it's worth, they had not that drive, maybe the drive before, gotten 4th and 1 on the ground. They had converted a 4th down. Again, this litany of errors. I mean, we're going to complain. Everybody's going to complain about running it on 4th and 2. If they pass it and it's an incompletion, you're going to say, well, why would you pass it in that situation in 4th and 2, right? You don't need to. You still have clock left. You can, right? They've typically picked up. They've had some success doing that, but on the ground.
But when they have done that, it has been from a very particular formation and a straight give under center from the quarterback taking the snap and then handing the ball to Katron Allen or Nick Singleton. It hasn't been Drew Allar running the ball on 4th and 2 from a power inverted quarterback run. It's not putting your best player in his best position to succeed, or your best player in this game. It's not putting a player to his positional strengths, I guess is how I feel about that play.
Sure.
And the game is on the line.
Yep.
And that feels like we're going, like, that felt like we got another, I don't know. Because I'm with you, like, it's always the second guessing, right? Like, what we're doing here is we're just going to sit here and second guess. And that's usually not what we do. But this is very much, to me, like a cut and dried thing of what you want to do in this game, in this situation. I don't know. Nate, this season has been weird.
What's the call? Like, what do you propose? I mean,
the quick passing game had been there.
Clearly they were playing for 4 downs there. I mean, obviously.
Yes.
But I'm just saying the pass to Reynolds on the previous play was that indication. They didn't feel like they had to get it all there on third down. So, they were comfortable with the idea of 4th and 2. Just the play that they decided to, I mean, look, like, are there, and maybe this is just my memory, are there shades of Ohio State 2018?
A little bit there. So 4th and 5 versus 4th and 2, or 4th and 7. It was an obvious passing down, but here's I'm just setting this up. UCLA does not have a pass rush. And on the day, Katron Allen is averaging 6.3 yards per carry. He's not on the field. Singleton's averaging 3.5. Traber Pena, if it's not Katron Allen running the ball or Drew Allar scrambling, it's not a successful running play. We talked about this. Their defensive tackles, their defensive line in general is big. It's physical. It can handle some of the guys on Penn State's offensive line, but they can't pass rush. And Allar stood back in the pocket clean most of the day. The reason he was running is there weren't open targets or plays he liked. Right. So he decided to take off. And this was really, it came down to, in the second half, a battle of scrambling quarterbacks. And if you're playing man coverage because you have to stop the quick game on one side, and your inability to get a pass rush is distorting your coverages, and so then Drew Allar is able to run and pick plays in zone and man to go find 78 yards, that felt like a better situation to set your offense up in based on the flow of what was going on in the game. And like you said, like, these one play decisions aren't necessarily what is deciding whether or not Penn State wins or loses the game until 4th and 2, when you have the chance to tie this up and send it to overtime.
Yeah. I mean, we the pass to Reynolds in the end zone.
That felt like they were going to score too early. Like, at that point, that was
kind of thought he should catch that, to be honest with you.
Yes. That was, I think I agree with you. Are you saying, like, that's not Drew missing the throw, or just generally, like, score on the play where the touchdown is there?
I'm just saying, like, if I'm encapsulating this game, is it not repeated missed opportunities in the face of just great plays that UCLA made? I mean, right, some of those scrambles that Nico had were well contained at the start.
Yeah.
Right. Like, they almost had him. They right. I mean, but look, I think there are some lessons to be learned here, right? And this is now 2 games against mobile quarterbacks where it has been a problem. But guess what? It was also a problem against FIU. Where Penn State's pass rush doesn't get home as much as probably would be anticipated, right? They did have 3 sacks today, so that counts. But, he got out of the grip too many times and made them pay.
Here's what I don't love, and I don't even understand. Michael D says, and I'm trying to get as many of the super chats here as possible that are relevant to the conversation. When are we going to realize Allar is not the guy? Allar is the guy that got you 200 yards passing and 73% completion percentage. He was most of the offense today, nearly 300 yards. So, like, respectfully, if you're going to come with a cliche that is not true for the situation in the moment, I don't know what you're seeing. I don't know what you're seeing on screen when it comes to Drew Allar today.
I'm perfectly fine, right? Like, I and to be honest with you, I don't even know what argument you can have against it to say, hey, Drew Allar can't get you to the mountaintop. Like, if that's what's being argued, yeah, pretty clearly, he is not capable of being that guy. But the issue for Penn State, as it has been really throughout the season, is it wasn't anticipated that he was going to have to be that guy. That wasn't the setup. That wasn't the arrangement, right? The arrangement was this offensive line is going to be pretty good. And behind this offensive line, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen are going to have very healthy stat lines and run the football. And with these 3 transfer receivers, the passing game is going to have the opportunity to keep teams from keying in on stopping the run. At no point through any of what I just described, which again was the arrangement, was Drew Allar being asked to put a team on his back and be that. Well, like, sure. Okay. Like, yeah, if that's the guy that you need, they don't have that. Fine.
No, there's not. He's not the guy that's going to elevate the situation for sure.
Okay. Who is? Because it ain't Grunk. Not right now.
No,
not right now. You got to. This is the team that you got, and it's fine to come out of this situation. Like, not only fine, deserved to come out of this situation and say, hey, look at this program squandering what everybody anticipated to be a really good situation. Totally.
What? Okay. So I want to get I'm not asking you, should James Franklin be fired? That's not a conversation you and I are going to have on air necessarily. Here is the what we've talked about and what you and I have discussed in the past, that the situation at Penn State has changed. Pat Kraft is now giving more yeses in the offseason. We've talked about this. Getting Jim Knowles, right? All of these opportunities then to get players in the transfer portal, receivers to build the offense they wanted, the vision they had for this year in the transfer portal, right? So what is the clock? Where is the actual clock, in your opinion, in terms of performance evaluation? Buyout is there, I understand. So we're not saying like James Franklin's getting fired after this season. That's obviously part of this conversation. But when did the clock start for you on that, given when the expectations from in the university matched then the external expectations?
Last year. Look, I don't think I'm like really breaking any ground here. After 2023, specifically that Michigan game, there was a sentiment of, hey, get this guy what he needs, because these are the things that are glaring deficiencies of how a program that is set up to win at the highest levels is set up, and how Penn State is trying to do it, right? Like, hey, this can't be, if the expectation is to win a national championship, you can't operate the way that they had been operating really through the end of the Sandy Barber era, and then even in the start of the Pat Kraft era, because Pat Kraft could not snap his fingers and just make everything better and make everything right. So yeah, I think that the clock started last year, and this is where it gets dicey, because nobody wants to hear this right now, and I don't even want to say it right now because everybody's going to hate me, which I prefer not to be hated, but like, they went to the semifinal of the college football playoff and didn't need to beat any of the top 5 teams to get there, but that, like, it is what it is. They won a bunch of games, and they were close enough in the other ones, right, where they lost one possession games to Ohio State, Oregon, and ultimately Notre Dame, that there was really, like, is there a clock in terms of pressure? Absolutely. Turned up. It is a pressure cooker, 100%. But
the external pressure has always been there for sure.
Yeah, but it's internal. It's internal, right? So, like, I mean, you just have these multiple things that are all happening at once. One is Penn State fans are starting the clock in 2000 at minimum 15, if not 2014, and have this mountain of data to work with. That is not wrong, right? Penn State doesn't beat. Like the record is what it is. And some of the issues that existed with games after a bye, the first game after a loss, like all that stuff was there and is evidence and 100% can be used and will be used against you in the court of law. However, when Pat Kraft got to Penn State and evaluated what the situation was, it was, hey, this isn't right. This isn't where it needs to be. They gained the vote of confidence, and James Franklin and Penn State had success with it, right? They were able to do with that extra investment good things last season. This is an abrupt divorce from that momentum. And so it is they're 3-2. You get 7 more games. We'll see what happens. But given the circumstances, given the momentum that currently exists, which is 100% negative and bad.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of felt bad about it because people called me out on it. But I said last week after that first game that a crash out, like people were they were having this conversation. Oh, well, they'll be 10-2 and they'll get to the playoff and they'll lose in the first round. And what are we going to do with that? That was the conversation. And I said, hey, I think we are very seriously discounting the chances of a crash out because the stuff is not going Penn State's way right now. So,
what happened?
and then injury happened after that.
Yeah. What happens after the only time we've really seen that happen under James Franklin is 2021, where they got a couple injuries, Sean Clifford playing banged up, and suddenly they did not sustain.
PJ Mustipher in the middle of the defense.
What happens with the crash out now? Like this is the part where we're in uncharted territory. I said we are now in a new situation because people came in and said, big game, James can't get it done. This isn't a big game. This is an 0-4 team. And sure, there was an air of mystery. And I think that in the first quarter, you can say Penn State had a right to start slow in this game because UCLA came out with an entirely new team. Like that was a very different offense than they had seen at any point. I had not watched that team on film. After the first quarter, though, that's not really an answer anymore because you have people that are paid a lot of money to then change the narrative in the game, and the defense could not get it done for the reasons you pointed out of no Tony Rojas and the things we talked about from the X's and O's perspective.
Yeah,
but
not playing well. Interceptions that were missed.
Missed tackles.
There's plenty to talk about schematically, but at some point execution has to enter the conversation. They didn't execute.
Well, this again, so you bring everybody back.
Yeah.
On both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
And there are missed tackles, missed blocks up front, dropped passes, missed reads by the quarterback on a 4th down a couple weeks ago. Why is a veteran team not performing? I still even last year, these same players didn't make as many mistakes. Or if they did, I guess Tyler Warren was a giant Band-Aid. Abdul Carter was a giant Band-Aid. And still, I don't think that's even an answer. In my mind, the level of Nick Dawkins has had multiple snap infractions this year.
Yeah.
A guy who's been snapping his whole career, who's been at least 3 years of his 6-year career, he's been snapping. He didn't have snap infractions last year. I just don't understand why a veteran team is the one making the mistakes that the other team is capitalizing on. The special teams aspect of this, right? Like the fact that they did not have that on lockdown, that they are not performing at a high level on special teams in that situation to give up a surprise onside kick. These are things that a veteran team that all came back for this year was not supposed to do. And we're seeing things that are it's not just that. It's the it's not just that they're getting beat on defense. It's that they're also making mistakes that seem like, here's another one. And I know I'm just kind of filibustering here, but I'm just like getting all these things out of my mind. Like now that I'm talking, I'm dumping these all out. UCLA ran for their first touchdown, I want to say, like a fake switch route. And you just have Kenny Wosley. I'm sorry, not Kenny Wosley. I don't want to put this on the wrong person. You have Zion Tracy and A.J. Harris taking the same receiver and then another guy going inside. The strength of the defense, maybe the strength of the team is the corner room. Mm-hmm. And, like, they're making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess, like...
we thought, right? Like that, Jim Knowles said that they were national championship caliber corners.
Yeah.
I think that there's certainly an argument to be made that they were not tested at all in the preseason, the first 3 games. They have since been, I don't know if exposed is the right word, because they didn't really pass the ball in the second half. They didn't have to. Yeah, there's a lot to fix. There's a little bit of a dynamic, it seems to me, where everybody was talking about this season like there's a cliff on the other side of it, that as soon as the season, like, that this is it, that this is Penn State's shot, and if they don't do it, then that's it.
This is the final season of Penn State football, everybody.
Well, now it's more acute. Now it's more immediate. Like, they got to play 7 more games. This team has to play 7 more games.
Yeah.
And it is a tough ask to say, oh, figure it out. But I mean, that's really what's being required of these guys is, hey, your like, we spent the entire offseason talking about how they couldn't afford to lose anybody out of that linebacker room. And then Jim Knowles said, yeah, we got 3, Dom DeLuca, Tony Rojas, and Amari Campbell, and nobody after that they don't have anybody that can play. Well, now they just lost one of those 3. I think there's a valid debate to be had whether one of the other 2 is up to the task. Yeah, which leaves you 1. That is problematic.
one less than you need. I guess it was surprising. I guess it's not surprising because I understand like how coaches work. But what's the difference between a guy who knows where to be but can't make the play and a guy that can maybe be where he needs to be but maybe will make a mistake but might make more plays? Because like that to me was your decision making in the fourth quarter of like, okay, let's give some guys a breather even. Like if DeLuca and Campbell, like they're tired and now they're making mistakes physically, then like give DeLuca a break and see what one of the other young linebackers can do. Was Keon Wiley banged up?
I don't know.
The availability report flew by my face and I didn't really ingest it. But it's shocking to me. There's another one. That one's shocking to me that Keon Wiley can't get on the field as a redshirt junior and somebody who's been with the program for a long time. And I think that's a frustrating place where if some of your veterans need to step up and you've been on the team long enough, like some of these guys, it is, I think, pointedly frustrating in those situations that now we're talking about Alex Tash and Cam Smith.
A 20-point hole in the first half, I would assume, played a part in who they were rolling out there.
Yeah. But I'm saying I'm saying it's not like, oh, we need to like see if these let's get a couple guys a rotation to like
there's
get them
no
experience.
Time there's no time to see to find out, right?
That's not what I'm saying. Yes, but I'm saying we have definitively found out that this combination isn't working. Like we have definitively found out that if you have Nico Iamaleava on the same field, those linebackers are not capable of chasing him down as spies or of making these plays in a game, and this I'll say this now, in a game where Big Ten refs apparently have been told that unless somebody pulls out handcuffs and puts them on a defender, you're not calling holding. I was shocked at the number of times I saw bear hugs and guys not getting called for holding. But, like, stop players. No one cares, right? Like, it's going to be, no one's going to talk about that in the way this game was allowed to play out. But at a certain point, like, what's pulling the fire alarm look like? Because I'm not saying that you need to panic, but it wasn't working in the second half.
Yeah. What does it look like? I'm not sure I've ever seen that out of, and like, I mean, people could say, and I think probably warranted, say that like that's James Franklin's deal, is leadership without panicking. That they don't make abrupt moves like that. They don't pull the plug. They don't, and it may end up being the thing that costs them dearly this year. Like that, I think there's a very real chance of that, given the way things are going. I'm just not sure what to say, because with that, like, when you're in the situations that they were in, and Zane Durant is jumping off sides on a 4th and 1.
There's another one.
Nick Dawkins, Nick Singleton, just not. I mean, he's effective in the passing game, but that's essentially it.
Yeah.
Right. Like, where, if you're pointing around the field at all the guys who did come back, I think there's a very hard argument to make that any of them have been what people thought they would, right? That Deny would be this eraser, when he clearly is impacted by the lack of Abdul Carter on the other side.
Yeah. And final thoughts here. We have James Franklin's press conference. We're playing a man down this weekend, so I've got to go get that. And I can't do that while I'm sitting here talking to you guys. And I feel like we've run through my points. Nate, thank you for coming on here and sharing some of this, the load of this, discussing what happened. Because I'm still surprised at how that game played out. And I remember texting you in the second quarter and saying, like, they're going to lose this game. And I still even then thought, once the comeback started, okay, they're going to get this under control, and they're going to grab this and take it away from UCLA. It seems to be that Penn State does not have grab it and take it away from them kind of guys on either side of the ball this year. There is, as you just said, there's no Abdul Carter. Tyler Warren is not here. They need to find those guys in the next couple of weeks. Somebody needs to step up and grab the game and take it away from the other team sort of guys. Because we've seen 2 opportunities to do that in the fourth quarter. They were almost to overtime in a game that they had no business being in.
Yep.
And I guess we'll find out who those are. What's your nutshell of this game?
I said this. I said this before the season, and honestly, like, in concept, it's stupid. I'm not even, like, proud of this, but there was a component to last season, specifically at Southern Cal and at Minnesota, Penn State probably got away with one, probably got away with a couple. It's not to say that wasn't a good team last season, but, like, there just was this feeling to me of college football happens, and it was going to happen at some point to this team. Now, the problem for Penn State is, it is right. If Penn State had won that game, if they just figured it out and came back and you
2 points, end the game regulation, like walk off sort of thing. Let's just make it a shorter game, because I don't want that to go to OT.
Sure.
Yeah.
But okay, they win it. It doesn't change any of what had happened in the prior 60 minutes. I mean, you can have this conversation about, well, they showed fortitude, they shook off the loss to Oregon, and they were dead to rights, and they won it anyway. Okay, there are just fundamental shortcomings in however you want to frame it. Personnel, scheme, execution, right? Like, it's a simple game, and playing a team that clearly, including some of the decisions that were made, including going for 4th and 1, UCLA did on its own side of the field in that situation late in the 4th quarter with 2 minutes to play. They went, why? Because they don't care. They're just going for it. Balls out, do it. Right? They played to win that way. Penn State did not until it was too late. And that's it. They're stung. They're 3-2. And the heat that already existed is as hot as it's going to be. It is hot. And it's going to be super interesting to see how they respond to it.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I always want to see new stuff, and this is technically new stuff. So we'll see what's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks. They have Northwestern for homecoming. Northwestern does not have a strong offense, having watched them play this team and Oregon. They have a strong defense in terms of they are gap sound. We thought this was the get-right game. Penn State desperately needs a get-right game, but at this point, they need a lot more than that, as what Nate just pointed out. So, James Franklin's press conference coming up in just one moment. We'll get that to you so that you can hear what he had to say. It is 7 minutes long, so I'll tell you, he did not have a whole lot to say, but we'll get to that to you in just 1 second. Thank you for being here on the BWI Live Labatt postgame show. I'm Thomas Rankar for Nate Bauer. We'll talk to you on Monday when we have our recap video, and then Tuesday with the live show.